Hari Om. షేరండి ఒక పెట్టుకొని అక్కడ ఆయన చేస్తున్నారు చూసుకో అక్కడి నుంచి అందరినీ చూసుకో ఈయన శ్రీనివాస్కి ఒక కాపీ రుచా యా వన్ కాపీ Hari Om. Sahana bhavatu sahana bhunaktu sahavirjam karavavahi tejasvinavadhitamastu mahavidvishavahi om shanti shanti shantihi. We'll continue with the 25th shloka. We'll read it one more time. You can repeat after me. Yanti deva vrata devan pitrun yanti pitruvratah bhutani yanti bhutejyah. Very good. Finally, madhyajinopi yanti madhyajinopimam. Good, thank you. Devavrataha, one is committed to worshipping devatas. We all are committed in some ways. First come and pray to Ganesh Bhagavan, then Dakshinamurti, right? You know why we do this before Ganesh Bhagavan? Because most of our obstacles are here, mental. So do that. This is a form, I'm giving a meaning for that form basically. No, you don't have to do that. You can even have the spirit of doing it, which is all part of the discussion here. In America especially, most of your obstacles are here. Where was that snow? They said the storm which is coming. It was on the news and it was here for people. Right? You all made it. It's still not picked up. I know it will pick up, but I think by the time we finish and have lunch and everything, will be still fine. So obstacles are mostly here. That is why praying to Ganesha is so relevant. Hey, this is where I have most of my, and this is where I should be endowed with the best of best. So that way I can do. So for both reasons, I tap like that. So Ganesha. So we pray all the devatas. When I say something like this regarding Ganesh Bhagavan, what do you really appreciate is the science behind that art. This is art, and there is a little science, a little reasoning. Science is not really scientific. It's just a little reasoning there, and you are appreciating the reasoning behind that form, and then you own it up. Or if you're already doing it, you do it even more happily, comfortably. So, those are the devatas we worship. Why do we worship all these devatas? Because they are given in the Vedas. We are all Vaidikas. Vaidika means, we are given to Vedas as our scriptures. We cannot say Vedas are scriptures, we're Hindus, and then throw away all the devatas out of the Vedas. In the name of Vedanta. Okay. So, the devatas are there very much. And so, Bhagavan is assuring, Devavrataha, who is committed to worshipping the devatas, Yanti, they will accomplish, they will gain what they want to accomplish through those devatas. If you want to make a perfect worship for those devatas, the scriptures are there. How to worship Dakshinamurti, Maunavyakya, Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam, like that. Dakshinamurti was ever young, like the knowledge is ever fresh. We, the receivers of the knowledge, we are coming and going, this birth, previous birth and all that. So, likewise, we have different ways of worshipping these devatas. We'll see all that in the next sloka. But Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Devavrataha, committed. If you're committed, vrata means commitment, as I was saying before you left for the break. What was the commitment? Like Satya Narayana Vrata. What is your commitment? Is a vrata means your commitment is you stay thinking and preparing for that vrata for the whole day. And when the moon, full moon shows up, Paurnami, in the evening, then you do the whole vrata, and first thing you do is a prasada. There are stories why you should eat prasada. Where in which religion you say that if you don't eat prasada, you'll punished. Our religion is not wanting to be like a mother. We'll punish you if you don't eat the prasada, by the way. I'll be offended if you don't have my lunch. I have lunch at our ashram after this talk, likewise. So, that is our given to that vrata, any vrata like that, Ekadasi vrata. Whatever vrata, whatever austerity or discipline you follow for the sake of pleasing a certain devata, you would definitely get that. Pleasing the devata also is not the right phrase, as Puja Swami just said. For the devatas, nothing is big, including your own worship and what you offer and all that. So, pleasing the devata is what? It is, you being a part of the harmony of all the devatas, what they committed for. Indra giving rains, Varuna taking care of all the water bodies, and Vayu Bhagavan taking care of the air. And you being harmony is what? You're driving a Tesla as a part of it, okay, to have some fresh air. You'll be in harmony. I'm just giving you some things which you are doing, which you may, or you driving only what you need. Only when you need, or something like that. So you are very conscious to be a harmony, to not disturb this harmony. This harmony is maintained by the devatas. Then you are doing the worship of devatas. Deva vrataha yanti. They will all get their results for worshipping those devatas. And behind any worship of any devata, there is some ways of doing it, and it is all, something very meaningful. Then, Pitrun yanti. Pitrun yanti. See, the word pitru, you should say it pitru. Some people might say it pitru. That is not right. Small difference. I'm just giving you some small tips for correcting what we commonly use. Pitru instead of pitru. Small difference. Pitrun yanti pitruvrata. Ancestral worship is a great part of our Hindu religion, Hindu Dharma. I used to say, our religion, we have two tracks of worship. One is ancestral worship, other is worship of all the gods, devatas, deities. Both tracks are there. If you go to the eastern part of the world, they are more into ancestral worship only. China, Japan. If you go to the western part of the world, there is no ancestral worship. It's only worship of the Lord in one particular way. You see that? If you come to India, you have both tracks of worship perfected to the core as best as possible. To the point that when someone dies, our ancestral worship starts from the day one. And what is the first ancestral worship for the 10 days after someone is dead is this someone who might be our, ancestor in the form of being a parent or a grandparent, who was the cause for this body. The first 10 days, the worship would include giving that person who is not with us a form. Those ancestors who are the cause for this form, with this form, we are trying to give a form for them. See, you being the parent of someone who has gone from being manifest to an unmanifest form, to the point that they have all those emotions, the one who is departed, including feelings like thirst and all that. How can you satisfy that? So the scriptures have given some ways where you can offer, give them farm and offer that and this and all that. So those are the ancestral worship. So there's a phrase, you know what? Ancestors are majority. So when someone dies, they say he has joined the majority. So, which means what? They're all in some world. Joined the majority means what? They're there. And they're happily there. That is why they are multiplying there. They go, they don't want to come. So those majority ancestral, they're in a special world called Pitruloka. So Bhagavan Sri Krishna is recognizing that worship also. He says, Pitrunyanti Pitruvrata. Those who are given to, committed to those worship of Pitrus, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, they would go to those worlds. Who doesn't want those worlds where everybody is your ancestor? They take care of you with all special powers. Give you also special powers. So it's all in the scriptures. If you look at Puranas like Garuda Purana and all those, they have described all this, how to do that. And to the point, he can become a Devata also in the Pitraloka. Puja Swami is giving examples. Agniswata, those Devatas, they become Pitru Devatas. So what it means is in our religion there is no end to how high you can rise. You can rise through your sadhana, through what is prescribed in the scriptures. You can go to Pitraloka, you can become a Pitru. You can go to Devata Loka of all the deities and you can become a Devata. You can go to Shiva Loka, you can go to Vishnu Loka. There's no end to it. In fact, the way we have described the lokas is actually the basis for everybody else. In some other religion, their description of heaven and what hell and what not and all that, it is all so descriptive in our religion to begin with. So all those lokas are so well described. Bhagavan Sri Krishna is acknowledging their presence, their existence, and saying, if you do certain action, committed to going certain lokas, you would accomplish that. Pitrun yanti pitrvrataha, then bhutani yanti mad bhutejyaha, bhuta ijyaha becomes bhutejyaha, right? So all these sandhis I have not done in this shloka. So all those words are very clear, so I don't want to go back and do that. But bhutas, here it is mentioned as celestial, Swamiji has mentioned celestial beings, yaksha rakshasas. Kuberaya Vaishravanaya Maharajaya. Kubera is one of the, is related to who? Kubera is related to Ravana. Akshaya Tritiya, we worship Kubera. Akshaya Tritiya, it's coming up by the way, be ready for that. Okay, that's Tritiya. Akshaya Tritiya is in a Chaitra Masa, the Tritiya, somewhere it comes. So we worship Kubera. So we are also worshipping. In fact, it is in vogue. All these worships are Pitru worship. What is that? Bhuta Gana worship is also there. And so those who are worshipping, so Kubera is the treasurer. Mahalakshmi is the source of wealth. Kubera is the treasurer, wealthiest being in the whole creation. Ravana stole his Vimana, Pushpak Vimana from Kubera. Ravana, there is no begging and pleading in his case. He is only grabbing. That is Ravana. So, Devata Vrataha, then Madhyaji, Bhutani, Bhutaganaha. I would also add Bhuta also elementals, all the elements. Vayu, Agni, Apaha, waters, all these are elements. Right? Bhuta Ganadi Sevitam. So, those Devatas, the Bhutas are also all the elementals, and they are got Devatas for each and every elemental. If you have a lot of water problem in your body, you can worship a Devata for that. A lot of Vata problem, wind problem, the body. That is also a Bhuta elemental. You can worship the Devata for that. So likewise, we have identified from our Shastra, from our Veda, all the devatas and what kind of worship we can do, and they've identified and they have specified and all that, categorized and identified and all that. So that way they are all available. It's up to you to make use of them if you need, and if you don't need also, that's okay. It's an infrastructure available for you. Nobody is going to punish you for not worshipping all those devatas in the Veda. But there's no need to trivialize them also. They're there. In fact, you should be very proud of that. You know why? Because if you want to get a special treatment, you go to places where there are specialists is there. Our devatas are like the specialists. So that way, we should be very proud that our Veda is a source book for all those different types of worship, specifically invoking a certain devata for a certain problem. Like you going to a certain specialist for a certain problem. There's a specialist who can only do certain things. If the fracture of ear, those digits and all that. There are some specialists only doing that. So you want to go to that person if you have a fall where you have a wrist problem. So likewise. All right? So, Bhagavan is appreciating that and recognizing that. He's saying, those people, they will definitely get those results. Bhagavan also including finally, he is not stopping there. Madhyaji naha api mam. Also, keep in mind, those who worship me, Paramatma, Ishvara, Narayana, Antaryami, the one indweller, who worship me as the indweller, who is from inside out, making everything happen just by his mere presence. That Lord, that Ishvara, who you may call by different names because of how you appreciate that Ishvara. Right? For example, if I ask you, in the ocean there are waves. For one wave, who is the Brahma? Brahma means the creator. Who is Brahma for the wave? Answer is water. You can call other causes also like the moon, gravity and all that. But then without water there is no wave. And even if it's an ocean where there are no waves, like the Pacific Ocean, which is very quieter, much quieter, you still call it an ocean. So waves, if it has to come up, what is quintessential is the water. So Brahma for the wave is water. Who is the Vishnu for the wave? Vishnu for the wave is also water. You know why? Because the Vishnu, water is the what? Helping the wave to grow in size, shape and whatnot, right? The sustainer, the Palana Poshaka, the nourisher of the wave is also, that is what we call Vishnu Bhagavan, is also water. Do you agree with me? Now if the water decides to walk out of the wave, like Shiva, Samhara Karta, if the water decides to walk out of the wave, what happens to the wave? It doesn't exist. It becomes unmanifest, goes back to unmanifest. So Shiva also for the wave is water. So if you are able to appreciate Paramatma in this way, see then what does the name Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva signify is what? It signifies your appreciation of that same Paramatma depending on the activity. What activity you want to appreciate basically upon that. Right? So likewise, if you are able to, Mam Yaji, Bhagavan is here, I am coming to this word, Mam Yaji, if you are able to appreciate me as the one who is manifest in these different activities, then Bhagavan says, you would accomplish me here and now, in and through all your experiences. Like Arjuna wanted to experience Bhagavan's Vishwarupa initially. Vishwarupa, Bhagavan, give me that eye. Give me those eyes which I can use to see you as in the cosmic form. Bhagavan gave him that vision. Oh no, Bhagavan, this is not what I expected. I am unable to comprehend this. Take this form away from me. Who says that? That also was told by Arjuna only. He asked for it. Then he is asking Bhagavan to take it away from him also. But give me that one vision where I can see your one hand in and through all my experiences, Lord, Paramatma. So that is appreciation of Paramatma, Tattvena Abhijanati, as we saw in the previous word, in reality, what is Paramatma? He wanted that. We all wanted that. He wanted that even after watching the Vishwarupa. And we have the knowledge and message where, even without the Vishwarupa, we understand what is more significant. So Bhagavan says, if you are after that, you would also accomplish that. And how do you accomplish that? You accomplish that by preparing your mind first. Because that Bhagavan is already here. And now, what is that which is, people ask, Bhagavan, please bless me with all the grace. And Bhagavan's coming back and saying, if I bless you with all the grace and everything, what would the other person think? If he doesn't ask, I should not bless him or what? So Bhagavan has decided, I, like Bhagavan, Shankar Bhagavan, I have given you already everything. I have given everything to everybody. All my grace is already there with you in totality. It's up to you to recognize that. And that path is also, Bhagavan is very clearly saying, you prepare your mind. Just make the mind more subtle, so you're able to appreciate. How many experiences you have in life where you now start appreciating things which you were taking for granted. So it's all about, getting the mind there. Antakarana Shuddhi. Because this is praptasya praptihi, not apraptasya praptihi. When something you have not accomplished, if it is not with you, then what do? You go and get it. Or something is in a certain form and you want it to make a different form, you change it. You produce it, you change it, you go get it. All these are different ways. But what about something which is your own nature, your reality, in like the water in the waves, that kind of a reality of Ishvara, not being away from you? How would you accomplish that? It is like the space which is everywhere, and there's one part, there's a space inside the pot, right? What should the pot do to know that the space inside is the same as space outside? What should the pot do? Should it break? Should the pot break to appreciate, hey, the space inside is also... It just has to know there's only one space, one Paramatma, and nothing is away from that Paramatma. Both has to be appreciated. Not just one Paramatma, there's nothing away from Paramatma also. Both appreciation has to be there. Then it doesn't have to break. Right? Right now what is happening is, suppose if you take this Uddharani. Uddharani means a spoon. Our priest would use for doing Achyutaya Namaha, Anantaya Namaha. Suppose you take the Uddharani and put it in the ocean. No, sudden, the Uddharani is empty. You put it stick it in the ocean, all right? And there's a spoon. If you don't understand the word Uddharani, just a small spoon. You can see it in the temple. You stick it in the ocean. Now there's a water. Would the water go inside the spoon? It's in the ocean, right? The water is in the spoon. If suddenly that water thinks, oh no, where did you bring me? You have brought me into the ocean. I'm going to be drowning. I'm going to be dying. Who's thinking? The same water which was always there with the ocean, just because you put a spoon there and it is just having the base of the spoon or cover, suddenly if it thinks like that, what kind of ignorance is that? Right? So Bhagavan is asking us to work on that ignorance. Vidhi Purvakam, make it Vidhi Purvakam, appreciate that. Then you will also accomplish that which is one without anything like that. There can be thousands, millions of waves, but the waves are many, but the water is one, they say. But not just one, This water is one, unlike anything else, as Puja Swamiji would say. So that way, when you appreciate Bhagavan, you would accomplish that also. What do you want now? In terms of wording technology. I hope I made you appreciate that kind of an accomplishment. Madhyaji, Madhyajinah, Mam api yanti. So likewise, this is the way Bhagavan completes this shloka. Alright, so next we'll go to the very interesting shloka, or very often quoted shloka, as Puja Swamiji was saying. Before that, I will read this translation from Puja Swamiji's page here. Those who are committed to the gods reach the world of the gods. Those who are committed to the mains reach the plane of the mains. Those who worship spirits go to the realm of the spirits. Whereas those who worship me reach me. This is all they do. In some of the places of worship, they only read this and they read it with a tone like this. And don't even explain, and then you have to break your head about all these things like that. So that's why we need commentaries and explanations which Puja Swamiji is giving like that. So let's go to the next shloka. I want to finish the next shloka before we conclude this session. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti upahrutam Ashnami prayatatmanah. What are the words in this shloka? Patra means a leaf. Patram also means letter, by the way. Patram rasava, uttaram rasava. Pushpam, flowers. Flower actually, just one flower. It's all in singular. Bhagavan is making it so easy. Because this verse, the spirit of this verse, connected to the previous verses, Bhagavan is saying, for that kind of worship, whoever is worshipping me will accomplish me. When Bhagavan says, is that going to be difficult? Because we are so given to other kind of worships. We think we know about other worship, but what about this worship? Is it going to be easier or tougher? Answer here. Pushpam, flower, phalam, fruit, toyam, water, Yaha me bhaktya prayachati is the verb. Whoever is offering, prayachati is offering. Prakarshena. Offering with devotion. Bhaktya prayachati, with devotion. Tad aham bhakti upahritam. Ashnami prayatatmanah. Bhaktya upagrata means which is involved with devotion. Ashnami. Bhagavan says, I consume. Means I accept. Prayatatmana, because who is involved is the one who is given to devotion, who is given to that effort. So I accept all that. So this verse, what Bhagavan Sri Krishna is highlighting is, what matters is not what you offer. What matters is not how you do it, but the spirit behind. That is what is the highlight. Don't you like such kind of verses where the highlight is the spirit? But you should appreciate the spirit. That is also coming. So, who is addressed here? Prayatatmanah. Prayatatmanah. Prayata means what? Yatna shilaha. One is given to some effort. Prayatatmanah. Was given to effort in the right direction. With that effort, whatever karma you do, whatever activities you take up to, it would become a yoga. Yoga is what? Yoga is association. It will associate with Paramatma. So the actions does not matter, but the spirit matters. Bhagavan is not saying don't do anything. Bhagavan is not saying walk away from a temple. That's important. Because he's given some examples also about some of the things you can offer. Okay? So Bhagavan is saying, if you are doing any activity with that devotion, which will be explained also again here, then your activity can automatically become a yoga which will associate with you to Paramatma, which will make you go towards that Shreyaha, that which is the fourth Purushartha, fourth human pursuit which you want to also accomplish in addition to all that you have accomplished. Our religion is not just about moksha. It is not just about only the Chaturtha Purushartha. Our religion is an infrastructure for all Purusharthas. Hindu religion is not a monastic religion, according to Pujya Swamiji. So, we don't want everybody to become monks. There are enough of them. There are too many of them. I'm including myself also in that list. Okay? So, we want you to accomplish whatever you accomplish. And Bhagavan says, I am in the form of your dharma yukta kamaha ahamasmi. I'm the one who is in the form of the desires which is in line with dharma, with whatever you want to accomplish. So, that being said, even those activities when you do with devotion, it becomes a dedication to Lord to the point where you appreciate, recognize that you are never away from Paramatma. The recognition makes all the difference. Someone had a gold stone, Parasha money. Yeah, what is that? Touch, Midas, the touch stone. It touches anything, it becomes gold. That person had that stone. He never knew it was that blessed one, blessed stone. So he was using to make chutney. Every day in his home he was using to make chutney with that stone. Then one Mahatma said, hey, that is, even to say that is Parasamani, yeah, Mahatma has to come. Okay, hey, that is Parasamani. If you touch anything with that, it becomes gold. Yeah, but there's a way to do it and all that. But at least you know now it is Parasamani. So don't use it lightly like that, it may break. Once he knew that, then he could sell it for a worthy price to a jeweler, and he could make a living out of that. So what was the one which was missing here? Recognition. He already had that. He was experiencing that Parshamani every day. But what was missing is that recognition. So recognition goes a long way. I'll conclude when I conclude in another 20-25 minutes with some other examples where you see what a big difference it would make in your life. So Bhagavan says, you will start recognizing, appreciating Paramatma once you have that act of devotion. And everything else doesn't matter. So Pujya Swamiji here makes a nice point. He says, he has got topics. In this whole section, if you go back and read the home study course, you will see several subtopics, very interesting topics. The first topic is connecting is importance of an act of devotion. Because in this shloka, Bhagavan says, Bhagavan did not say there's no need for an act of devotion. He is only saying, I'm accepting all acts of devotion. Because what else you have in your free time to do? If you give up all the acts of devotion. Right? If you don't want to do anything if you don't want to act upon your devotion, what will you do in your time? You sit in the couch, flip the channels in the remote. So act is quite important. It should have some. The meaningful act is also quite important. So that's what Bhagavan says. As Swamiji says, action and that can invoke some emotions. Like the children, for example, every day going. If you are a child from the childhood, if you're going like this, right? Or in a childhood, you think you just come here and fold your hands just because you are now become a great devotee suddenly? No. This is what we have been learning right from a childhood. So it automatically happens when you come here. So this act is also significant. Act behind it. So these practices should remain. The spirit is something we need to appreciate and understand and recognize based on the scriptures. But the act behind this, the action which is going along with the spirit is also, even if the spirit is not complete. In fact, we need those activities, we need those actions because the spirit is not complete. We are in the journey. And we want to make the best use of our time, which is associated with those activities which are connecting us to the reality. So that way, the activities are also important. All the actions, all the forms are important because our spirit is growing. It is forming. It is not complete yet. Once your spirit is complete, even then I would say you would go back and do the same action with no sense of drudgery or no sense of, grudge and all that. You will do the same thing with more happily. That'll all, because Bhagavan has given us this prarabdha, this sharira, this time and space infrastructure. If you are jnani tomorrow, and then after becoming a jnani, you would come back and do everything what you have been doing with more happily. Especially those acts of devotion, especially. Spontaneously. Swami Akhandan Saraswati is one Mahatma, our Swami Pratyagaatma quotes. So someone went to Swami Akhandanji and said, Swamiji, from all your teachings, I know that I am now Brahma. What should I do next? Swamiji said, but beta, jao jaake shaadi kar lo. Go get married now. What else? You have come. You can do whatever you want. Go get married now. So what the point of this thing is, even if your spirit is complete, in your spare time, in whatever time you have, you would only come back and do all those meaningful things you have been doing basically, including the acts of devotion. With more, only the spirit is there, so you'll do it with more happiness, with more comfort, more at ease. So that is why Swamiji wants all the spirit to be back to those activities. This is our religion. You see all our forms, Bhagavan, Sri Dakshinamurti. And if you ask Swamiji to explain, he will explain how he represents all the 5 elements, plus another 3, right? So he will explain all that. Now, where did all this form come from? From the scriptures. It's not someone's figment of imagination. It came from the scriptures. So the scriptures are manifest in the form of all these forms. So that way they don't just remain in the books and collecting dust. And all these forms are authenticated or backed up with all those scriptures. So that way, these forms are so intimately connected to our scriptures where all the spirit is there. So, likewise, Swamiji is asking us to appreciate that, the action also matters until your spirit is complete. Until your spirit behind the actions are all complete. Because it is very hard, to be, but at the same time, those actions are not something which really matter so much as the spirit. So that is why Swami says, why what all the things you have chosen? Because that is where people fight. Between worshipping Bhagavan in this way versus that way and doing this before that and all that. Bhagavan is beyond all those krama and all that. So that is where Swamiji is saying, it is very hard, when Bhagavan, nothing is big for the Lord, Ishvara, Paramatma, how are you going to make that Paramatma happy only by your activities? It's very hard. So definitely nothing is more important than the spirit. That is the spirit of the shloka. At the same time, the spirit of the shloka is not to, ask you to give up all the activities. Because those activities are those forms which can be manifest with your spirit. When your spirit is complete, these actions also become, the whole content of those actions becomes your spirit. That is how it works. So those are Pujya Swamiji's message regarding, and then he's got the other topic, which is prayers. Because when I say an act of devotion, it involves prayers. I'll tell you one thing today, you all take home. Prayer is not for the weak. Prayer is not for the weak. Prayer is not for someone who's considering himself as weak. Prayer is the manifestation, is the only pure form of the manifestation of your free will. When you are praying, you are not asking, Bhagavan, I am weak, so I am praying. No. You are saying, Bhagavan, I have only so much. You recognize your help, your capacity. You at the same time recognize your helplessness to some extent. And at the same time, you are appreciating Ishvara's blessings to some extent. So, these three components are involved when you fold your hands and pray. You recognize Ishvara for what he is to a certain extent. You recognize your helplessness. And you also recognize your capacity. I am able to do so much, but then I may not deserve what I am really desiring for. So, Paramatma, I need your help. See, you are recognizing your capacity also. When you say prayer is for the weak, then means what? That fellow is considering himself as zero. Zero multiplied with anything is zero only. No. We are saying you recognize your capacity to some extent, but then you also recognize the helplessness. That is how you keep your sanity. You cannot keep your sanity by saying, I'm only nothing and all that. You cannot keep your sanity by thinking that you're a self-made man and you can accomplish everything. You can appreciate your capacity and somewhat your helplessness, and more than anything, as a devotee, you appreciate the presence of something higher, then you will make it. So Bhagavan very much in this shloka says, those prayers are something I welcome. Right? Those prayers are something I really welcome. See, example, when you're very young, Swamiji gives his one example. Their mom says, do Gayatri Japa. These examples are given in the same section, by the way. I'm not going out of the section. But do Gayatri Japa. Swamiji is doing Gayatri Japa. Why? Because mom said, only if you do Gayatri Japa, you'll get coffee. Right? What would you not do for a morning cup of coffee, especially in a day like this? So Swamiji would do his japa. So that japa doing, Om Tatsavituranya, oh Lord, you are the one who is the indweller, who is the one who is making my inside shine. May you also shine my intellect. That kind of higher prayer Swamiji would do for the sake of coffee when he was very young. And when you appreciate the real meaning and purport of the shloka, won't you continue to do that? Even more happily? Right? So that way the forms are all there for a purpose, and we can make it, there's infrastructure, we can make use of it as and when it's required. So prayers are that way very relevant in this whole context. And when the spirit is there, forms don't matter. That is what the shloka. Patram, leaf. What do you offer for Shiva? Bilva Patra. Tridalam Trigunakaram Trinetrancha Triyayudam Trijanma Papa Samharam. Trijanma Papa Samharam. All your papa for all the 3 janmas go away. Eka Bilvam Shivarpanam. When you offer one leaf of one bilva for Shiva, is it a fair deal? You offer one leaf and every papa will go. But we are happy to do that. Why? Patram, the spirit. For Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Tulasi, Patram. For Ganesh Bhagavan, Trinamapi, Alam. Trinam, one small blade of grass for Ganesha. That's what the spirit. Spirit is what? You offer even something as small as that. With the spirit of devotion, Bhagavan, you are the whole. Right? In terms of oneness, you are not separate from me, you are in and through me. There's nothing me when I really see. At the same time, with all my limited capacity, I can only offer you so much. You as Paramatma. So you're recognizing both your limitation and your oneness, and with that oneness, Bhagavan will appreciate what you really, you'll see the spirit behind it. Patram. Then, Pushpam, flower. See, one Mahatma, Swami Akhandanji was saying this story. He had a disciple, and his disciple, he said, this is just an anecdote, it's not a real story, I think. Go get a tulasi leaf, tulasi dalam. When you bring tulasi, you have to bring as a bunch. Dalam means a little small bunch. That devotee that did not know what is tulasi plant. Tulasi is a basil plant. It's a basil, small leaves. He didn't know what is a holy basil plant. He was rolling his eyes and saying, "Hey, Swamiji, I don't know how to climb a tree. I don't know how to climb a tree. Okay, this fellow doesn't know what is. You don't know what is tulasi, beta? Oh, he knew that he has made some mistake in understanding through what is tulasi. I know, Swami, those, which comes like a big leaves like plantain, the banana leaves, like the banana plant leaves. Is that what is tulasi? Swami said, oh, this fellow doesn't know anything about tulasi. So he went and got some tulasi leaves, because you have to offer some tulasi when Naivedya. Because Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Paramatma, Mahavishnu, he would accept only when you offer with some Lakshmi. Tulasi is one of his, he will eat along with Lakshmi only. See, when I say all this, how you are taken away in your spirit is automatically building. And you're able to connect to what I'm saying because you've been, in India in some way or the other, you've been connected to all this kind of doing things. And the Mahatma offered the tulasi, and he said, my dear devotee, my dear Sishya, my dear disciple, now I have done everything. Would you mind having some prasad with me? Eating some prasad? Then the disciple is saying, Maharaj, I have not followed your 2 instructions. This 3rd instruction I'll definitely follow. I'll surely eat with you. Okay? Likewise, he's enjoying that prasada. So what I am saying is, the tulasi dalam, when I say all this, it's all going back to what Swamiji's message about the form, how it matters, and all that. Any small, insignificant form is also okay. Spirit matters. Pushpam, any flower, right? Lotus, it's a very special flower. But even, I went to some house, they had some dried flowers from some plant because, it was all winter. Still it was a flower, we offered it. Phala, many fruit. Ganesha Bhagavan says, Kapitta Jambu, Palasara Bhakshitam, Umasatam, Shoka, Vinasha Karanam. Kapitta Jambu, some jambu fruit is there. You even don't know what is that fruit. That is why Ganesh Bhagavan says, I am okay with that fruit. You know why? If you know what is that fruit, you will start eating that fruit. You will start liking it so much. So all those, list of all those fruit Bhagavan is taking away. There's something called Kapitta Jambu. Jambu Phala. You offer that, that is enough for me. Because you cannot eat that, I can eat that. It's got a hard shell and all that. So likewise, Palam Toyam, 1 drop of water. So that also we want to make it special. What we do, we go all the way to Ganga. And in the flight, all our suitcases full of Ganga water. Okay? And if you don't close the lid properly, your whole suitcase is coming wet after doing all the abhisheka to all your clothing and everything. Especially some sweets and everything is gone. Gangarpanam. So, Ganga Jalam you bring, and then you offer. And what happens is, and then you make it, you also, what happens, you come from Rishikesh, you keep adding 1 drop of water to another bottle. So that becomes Ganga Jalam. See how we do. Bhagavan says, okay, toyam, any kind of toyam. Patram, pushpam, tvalam, yo me bhaktiya prayachati. If you're able to give it with a devotion, being an informed devotee, as Puja Swamiji says, a devotion which is backed with information of who Paramatma is, in the way I was making you appreciate what the water is for the waves, as an example. Recognition of that Paramatma who is here and now. So, with that devotion, Yome Bhaktiya Prayachati, what Bhagavan says, Tadaham, Bhagavan says, Prayatatmanaha Bhaktiya Upakritam Tat, whatever it may be, Tat means what? Whatever in the above list, anything, Patra Pushpadi, Aham, he says, I will happily consume. Consume is ashnati, is to consume. Like if you give it to a kid, how the kid trusts you. He will take it from your hand, just put it in your mouth. Like as Bhagavan really doesn't care, whatever you give, like the kid, he will take it right away to his mouth. You have to say, Bhagavan, it is not the regular, made out of regular ghee. It is not made out of desi ghee, Bhagavan. It is made of that adulterated dalda. You have to take it away from Bhagavan. Bhagavan is ready to take everything. So here, ashnami is a word, and I'm using that word to give all these, ways of appreciating how the Lord will accept it. Shankaracharya goes back and says, it is grinnati. Bhagavan accepts. Bhagavan doesn't eat, but he accepts. He is making sure that we understand the word for what it is, but there is a spirit behind that word, Ashnami. Because it is coming from the Prayatatmanaha, it is coming from you who's ready to put some effort in spite of all that you are facing. As an example, Swamiji concludes the story of Kuchela. Kuchela is that poor friend of the Lord. When he was studying in Sandipani, the Guru Kul, Sandipani was studying. So Bhagavan was endowed with some good background. This friend was very poor. He ended up remaining poor. But they both were very, mentally he was always connected with Bhagavan as a good friend and all that. Wife kind of asks him, why don't you go? Your friend is so, not only so rich, not just a moneyed person, but a rich person. The difference is a rich person is, ready to give also. So he's so good-hearted person. Why don't you go and ask Bhagavan for whatever you want? Reluctantly he goes to Bhagavan, but I should not go empty-handed. When you go to see a king, when you go to come to a temple, or when you go to see a guru, don't go empty-handed. If you go to a king with something in your hand, he will give it back many times. So it's always good to go to all these places with something. So he went with a handful of beaten rice, flattened rice, rice which is easy to consume. So he went with that, and Bhagavan, he is not even wanting to show, because he never knew that, he never expected Bhagavan to be living such a lavish life where this thing what he's holding, it won't matter at all. So he was very shy, covering it up. Bhagavan says, what are you trying to hide from me? Let me see, give it to me, let me show me. Wow, you got something for me. Wow, this is flattened rice. I haven't had it in a while. Bhagavan takes one mouthful. And back in his home, suddenly the hut becomes a palace. Everyone is getting all fancy clothing and all that, jewelries and all that in his home. And second mouthful, Bhagavan eats. Then the entire town becomes like that. As though the towns, they proclaim, Kuchela is our king. Because of him, we are getting all this wealth. So he's become the king of the entire city. When he was about to eat the third, remember what he's eating. You're only now gone back to those kingdoms and all that. Flattened rice, patram, pushpam, palam, toyam, likewise something so insignificant. Then what happens is, when he eats the third mouthful of this flattened rice, Rukmini stops. Bhagavan's concert, Rukmini, Bhagavan's Patni, wife, she stops him. No, Bhagavan, don't do that. Then the entire world will belong to Kuchela. So that's all Puja Swamiji has mentioned in his home study. So please don't do that. So then she is, he's stopping and he's going back, and he is not even able to recognize his own people and city and all that. So the whole point of this is, what you offer does not matter, but what is the spirit behind it, which is the one Paramatma who is not separate from it. That spirit has to keep growing. That is where we should make progress. At the same time, had the Kuchela not brought his broken rice, this whole story won't exist, by the way. So which means it matters, at your own level, Prayatatmana, at your own effort, you do what you are supposed to within your meaningful, with your meaningful time and resource what you have, and definitely they will complement each other and it will get you there. So this is Bhagavan's message in this Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Slokam. It is an often quoted sloka. See, Puja Swamiji doesn't say it's a very important sloka and all that, but he says it's an often quoted sloka. So that way we'll do this sloka one more time and we'll conclude this session, and the next session will be after 2 weeks, but Swami Jnananji will take. So the next sloka is also very interesting. The spirit matters, Bhagavan says in this sloka. What you offer doesn't matter. Then when that doesn't matter, then what all can become an offering? Everything can become an offering. So that is what is coming in the next sloka. Swamiji will do that. I will just do this sloka again one more time with you and conclude. Patram pushpam phalam toyam Yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti upahritam ashnami prayatatmanah. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all. It's a nice crowd here. In spite of the weather, I appreciate you all joining me for these sessions. Now there will be Arti. I will be doing the Arti. The priest has requested me to do the Arti. So please all of you join me in the Arti. And then we can have lunch. Prasada.